Peace and blessings, brothers. It's been a long time since I've done this format, but I decided to come back to the style that started my YouTube channel. Brothers, I just want to talk to you briefly about unmarriageable women. As I'm recording this video, Mr. Kevin Samuels is on the air, and he's doing what he normally does and talking with women about marriage and relationships and the whole 9 yards. And Kevin Samuels at 1 million subscribers has done extraordinarily well for himself in creating a conversation between a black man and single black women about marriage. And what I want to say to you guys, brothers, is that watching the Kevin Samuels program over the past year or so, it's like watching a series of train wrecks. A series of train wrecks. And why do I say it's a series of train wrecks? I say that because it is clear than ever, if you are a perceptive black man who has followed him to some length, that the women who he interviews, particularly the black women whom he interviews on his program, are fundamentally unmarriageable. These are women who have internalized, consciously and unconsciously, Western feminism. These are women who don't believe in the kind of Christian values that he espouses, those beliefs that he thinks should keep men and women together. They don't believe in submission. They don't believe in the New Testament. They might give lip service to those things, but you and I know, based on sociology, and Mr. Samuels uses a lot of sociology, economic data, and the like, and we also know from personal experience, that is, those black men who are unmarried, those black men who live by themselves, those black men who have children by black women who are not with the women whom they have children with. We recognize that there is a real problem. And Kevin, over the last year or so, has done a yeoman's job in trying to address the problem. But unfortunately, the problem that Mr. Kevin Samuels is trying to overcome cannot be solved. There is no resolution. There is no way for you to get around the misandry. There is no way for you to get around the cult, the ideology of the strong and independent woman, black woman in particular. There is no way for you to get around a culture where single motherhood, unmarried single motherhood is celebrated. There is no way to get around women who want to have ultimate control over relationships. Women who want to dictate all the terms. Women who want to write the contracts. Women who want to opt out of marriage at any time. There is simply no way to get around that. And unfortunately, I don't think that the business model that Mr. Kevin Samuels currently has is sustainable. There is no way in God's green earth that you can convince black men, especially black men who are in, let's say, the top 15 to 20% of quote-unquote high earners, high status men, particularly those men who are single. There is no way for you to convince them that they are entering into a good deal with the sorts of women who he talks to regularly on his program. It just doesn't happen. Black men are not respected. Black men are not valued. Black men of all levels. Doesn't matter. You can be a bus driver. You can be a steel worker. You can be a construction worker. You can be in HVAC. You can do carpentry. You can be an engineer. You can be a chemist. You can be a lawyer. You can be a doctor. It doesn't matter who you are and where you stand in terms of your own status in society. the fundamental reality is that Western women, particularly those in the United States, have a very low regard for you as a partner, a long-term partner, a relationship. And yes, I use the word partner loosely and even liberally, the way in which a lot of those women use the term. And the fact remains, my brothers, is that this whole notion of Christian monogamy that Mr. Samuels attempts to sell to the 21st century woman is simply a fantasy. It's a fantasy. We live in a completely different environment. We live in a culture that celebrates thoughts, Instagram models, women who are invested in sexual liberation, serial relationships, women who really don't think about the long term, who are not really concerned about what happens to them as they age, as they reach the twilight years of their lives. They're not thinking about retirement. They're not thinking about all those things in relationship to a man. And brothers, I'm saying this to you, brothers, because it's important that we're smart. It's important that we recognize fantasy when we see it. I wish Mr. Samuels well, and he's done very well for himself. But the whole project of attempting to reinstitute Christian marriage, Christian monogamy in black society is a utopian prospect. It's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen for those so-called high value or high status men, and it's not going to happen for men who are not in that 20 percentile. Just isn't. On my page, we talk about reality. We talk about where black men are and what's going on. On my page, on my channel, I've talked about black men expanding their options outside of the United States. Traveling to South America, traveling throughout the Caribbean, traveling to Africa, traveling to Europe, traveling anywhere where you can expand your options, where you can have a greater pool to choose from. The American terrain is simply not good for black men. And a smart black man, a black man who is concerned about getting a return on his investment, should understand that and should affirm his right to be treated with dignity and respect, and to be able to partner up or hook up with any type of woman where he can have a life of peace and tranquility. Not a utopian life, not paradise, but one that is not filled with the type of dramas that black men have dealt with in American society. Peace to you, my brothers. Take care.